Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America in Washington, D.C. And this is Live Talk. I am Cape Stube.
And I'm Marvelous Mklanganya. We are broadcasting from my home this Monday, February the 7th, 2022, due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about Zimbabwe's forthcoming council and parliamentary by-elections.
But first, let's take a look at COVID-19. The Ministry of Health reports that 2 people died of COVID-19 in Zimbabwe yesterday, and 67 tested positive for the COVID-19. According to the Ministry of Health, 5,362 people have succumbed to COVID-19 since the pandemic started.
The Ministry of Health also reports that over 4.3 million Zimbabweans have so far received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and at least 3.3 million their second dose.
We will also be talking to some people who will be contesting in the March 26th council and parliamentary by-elections in Zimbabwe.
And in sports, Senegal beat Egypt 4-2 in penalty shootouts to win the coveted Africa Cup of Nations trophy after Sadio Mane missed a penalty in the 5th minute of the game. He scored the penalty winner. Yebokambe zilukadaba linjani lapha likhona endaweni zonke zomhlaba. Siyaqalisa lamhla sikhulume nge-COVID-19 ukuthi kambe kungakume njani eZimbabwe. Uhlangothi lwezempilakahle lubika ukuthi kulabantu ababili ababulawe yi-COVID-19 izolo. Kwathi-ke abayi-67 bahlolwe batholakala belomkhuhlane lo. Luphinde lwabika njalo ukuthi kusukela ngesikhathi kuqhamuka umkhuhlane lo sokulabantu 5,362 asababulawa yi-COVID-19 kuthi abedlula 230,000 ngabantu asabathapha umkhuhlane lo. Abedlula njalo 221,000 ngabantu asabaphepha ku-COVID-19. Nxa sesikhangela njalo-ke labo asebejove ijekiseni yakuqala bafika 4.3 million, besekusithi labo asebejove ijekiseni yesibili bafika 3.3 million. Sizakhuluma njalo ngokhetho lomba-elections oluzakwenziwa ngoMbimbito lonyaka. Siyawazi kwenziwa ngoMbimbito 26 eZimbabwe. So kulabantu-ke esiyaxoxa labo ngodaba lolu. Nxa sesikhangela-ke ezenguqu sibonile izolo ukuthi ele-Senegal linqobe ele-Egypt 4-2 kuma-penalty shootouts. Lapho-ke bekufiwa sibili amaqembu lawa Marvelous kube yi-0-0 kwaze kwafika i-extra time kuthe kuqedwa lapho abantu besithi i-Egypt izanqoba kodwa kwenzakala okwenzakeleyo. So-ke wakhanya-ke ukuthi i-Senegal yiyo iphume abantu bathi iphuma shoot ungazani kade kudlalwa amakhasi. Sizakhuluma njalo nangakhonokhu-ke okubhekane labo ababalisi ezikolo. So many teachers are boycotting classes. So we'll also talk about that briefly. Go ahead, Marvelous.
Aiwa, tinokuchingamidza nemufaro pano pachirongwa chedu cheLivetalk nemusi wemuvhuro February 7, 2022. Nhasi tichange tiri kukurukura pamusoro pedenda rechirwere cheCovid-19 tichitarisa zvakare zviri kuitika munyaya dzezvematongerwo enyika, gadziriro yemaby-elections ari kuitwa munyika pari zvino. Tichange tiine hurukuro nevamwewo vari kuwanikwa ivo vachikwikwidza vachimirira mapato akasiyana-siyana munyika pano pachirongwa. Tichange zvakare tiri kutarisa zviri kubuda munyaya dzemutambo wenhabvu apo takaona Senegal ichitora mukombe weAfrica Cup of Nations nezuro mushure mekukunda Egypt, kunyange zvavo vakambowanikwa vachitatsurana vakasvika ivo pafull time vari 0-0 ndobva vapinda mumapena. Tikaona bhora irori rakanakidza vazhinji nekuti munhu wese anga akatarisira kuti kochiko chingabuda, mafaro angatora here mukombe kubva kuWest Africa, asi takazoona Senegal ichitora mukombe uyu kekutanga kubvira vapinda mumakwikwi eAfrica Cup of Nations. Asi tombodzokera pamamiriro akaita denda reCovid-19. Tinoona kuti bazi rezveutano rinozivisa kuti pane vanhu vaviri vakawanikwa ivo vachibatira denda iri reCovid-19 nezuro vachishaya asi pane vanhu 67 vakawanikwa vachibatira denda iri reCovid-19. Kubva denda iri ratanga, Ministry of Health inoti pane vanhu 5,362 vawanikwa ivo vachishaya kubva kudenda iri reCovid-19. Uyezve tinoona kuti nyika inozivisa kuti yabaya nhomba vanhu vanosvika 4.3 million munyika pari zvino, kunyange zvavo vakatarisira kuti vari kuda kubaya vanhu vanowanikwa ivo vachisvika 10 million kuti nyika iwane yavanoti ivo herd immunity. Todzokera zvakare mune zvatanga tiri kutaura nyaya yenhabvu ndo imwe iri kufadza vazhinji, asi tichange nhasi tiri kunyanyotaura zvizhinji pamusoro pemaby elections achange ari kuitwa munyika muna March 26 ekanzuru neparamende. Tichange toda kunzwa kune avo vachange vakamirira nzvimbo dzakasiyana-siyana kuti zviiko zvavari kuvimbisa veruzhinji vachange vari kuvavhotera.
Yeah, Kunjalo Marvelous. I think the first person that we are talking to today is Mr. Kakapulu, who was a member of parliament from Kulumane, and he was under the People's Democratic Party and was recalled, by the PDP, by a man identified as Mr. Rukanda, who the High Court actually said he was not a representative of the PDP. And then there was a ruling, that said Mr. Pulu and others, including Mr. Tendai PD, should actually return to parliament. But this did not happen until the president, Emerson Mnangagwa, announced by-elections in Kulumane, Mutare South, Mutasa South, and other places. So let's hear what Mr. Pulu is going to do for the people of Nkulumane if elected.
We have begun the campaign in earnest, and the first thing that we are doing currently is just checking the voters' roll and analyzing it to ensure that it has no anomalies. There are a lot of anomalies that you can find, such as people who have been omitted from the voters' roll, people who have been included from the voters' roll from other places. So we're still looking at that. Second thing that we're doing is that we're asking people to go and register, especially those who had not turned 18 at the last election. We urge you to go and register, because registering in this by-election is crucial, because we are launching a people's movement, a citizens coalition that is rooted in the people, and we need your support in this by-election to make this project work. We haven't yet had challenges with the police, but we understand that in Kwekwe, there's been cases of harassment of our members by some ZANU-PF members who literally abducted them, took them someplace and were harassing them. And so we'd like to call upon the police to act fairly, but also to act swiftly in cases where people are breaching the electoral code of conduct. Should we encounter any problems, because we expect that as the elections intensify, you are likely to have those kind of things. We will then, let you know, and let the public know, so that they may also intervene in this election. We promise to fight for the people's rights, to fight for the people. The promise in the last election was to fight for the people. The reason why people end up making election promises that they can't keep, is because you would have promised people things that are outside your mandate. Building a road, building a bridge are all within the mandate of the executive. That is to say, the ministry and the minister. As parliament, we give them a vote. We give them huge amounts, each budget, to implement these projects. And then our next job is to monitor whether they're implementing these projects. It is not our job to implement the projects ourselves. An MP does not get a big vote, a big budget to do these programs. So what we promise is to fight to ensure that the ministries are doing your job, to ensure that the budget is working, to ensure that you have a working budget, to ensure that your things, day-to-day issues that are affecting you are addressed, and to highlight problems as vocally as we can in parliament and in the committees, and also to come to the community to pick up those problems and those challenges. One of the overwhelming problems is the lack of jobs. Young people have no jobs. Some have never worked in their entire life. So we need a government and we need an economy that can generate enough jobs to accommodate all our young people, not just a few. 10 jobs, 13 jobs is not enough. People need jobs in order to access health, to access education, to be able to pay local government bills and send their children to school and so forth. The elderly need to be able to access their pensions. Right now, when I was doing feedback meetings, last time, people were complaining about the fact that their pensions amount to about $10 at that time. And in fact, Even that $10, it was difficult for them to get it, to access it. It was so difficult. And the vast majority are not even on that scheme. Social welfare is not coming through to feed these people who have no jobs. Sometimes food is distributed on a partisan basis and so forth. You don't know how the criteria, one person gets food, the other doesn't. We know that there's the whole issue also that we're saying young people should do projects, which is fair and fine because we want young African people who are innovative. But at the same time, there's no you need the capital for that, and you need an economy which has people who are working. Because if you start a project, you need enough people who are working to be able to buy your products or whatever it is that you're offering. So we are back to jobs. You know, when our young people go to South Africa across the road to go and work, they don't go there to study projects. They go there to find jobs. Jobs are what absorb a vast number of people. But of course, from there, we also expect young people to innovate and also create jobs. But the government has to create a conducive environment, and that's what we want to go and shout about and ensure it happens in Parliament. Lastly, I would like to urge people to go and register to vote, and I would like to ask you to vote for Tata Evumile Pulu in the Nkulumane by-election, and to vote for the Citizens Coalition for Change, a party that is rooted in stakeholders, a party that is rooted in the people, a party which has the character and stays on it. Thank you.
There you are, marvelous. That is Mr. Kakapulu. He was the member of parliament for Nkulumane, and is very, adamant that he can bring a lot of change, in Nkulumane if re-elected, after his recall by the People's Democratic Party. So kunjalo ke ungafaka khonapho ngesishona marvelous.
vanova ivo vari kumirira bato reCCC vachitaura ivo kuti vachange vari kukwikwidza kuNkulumane uyezve vane zvizhinji zvavari kuda kuitira nharaunda iyoyi. Vanotaura ivo kuti kunyange zvavo munguva yapfuura vanoti havasi kuda kunyanyovimbisa zvinhu zvakawandisa sezvinoita vamwe, nekuti vati ivo vamwe vanouya vachivimbisa kuti vachavaka migwagwa, vachaita zvakati zvinhu zvisingaitwe, basa risingaitwe naMP. Asi vati ivo bhajeti yavanowana sevadare muparamende haisi zhinji, saka ivo vanenge vachingoenda kuparamende kuitira kuti vanonyatsoona kuti mapolisi acho ekuita kuti zvinhu zvifambe zvakanaka agadziriswe. Saka ndo zvinhu zvavari kutaura vachivimbisa kuti havasi kuda kuuya vachitaura zvakawanda kuti vachaita zvakati nezvakati nezvakati zvavanoziva ivo mumwoyo mavo kuti hazvizokwanisika, asi vari kuvimbisa kuti vakavhoterwa vachaunza pundutso kunzvimbo iyoyi.
Yes, let's listen to this Ndebele interview that we did with him, and then we go to other issues. So here it comes.
We have begun the campaign.
No, I think we are trying to bring the other interview that he did with Studio 7. So I think there we are.
Sesiqalisile ukukhankasela ukuvota. Into yokuqala nxa siqalisa ukukhankasela ukuvota ukuthi sikhangele, sicheke i-voters roll ukuthi iqondile. So into yokuqala sisa-analyze i-voters roll yethu, sikwenza masinyane lokho. Okwesibili esikwenzayo ukuthi siyakhuthaza abantu ukuthi bayaregister ukuvota. Sikhuthaza ikakhulu abatsha abafikise iminyaka engu-18 this year kumbe last year ngabahambe bayaregistera ukuvota. So ngokunye esikwenzayo bona lokho ngiyakwazi ukuthi akukabi le visibility, kodwa yiwo umsebenzi obuya andubana liqalise ukugijima lisenze visibility. Kumele sibone ukuthi abantu bonke bayaregister. So ngiyabakhuthaza kantesi ukuthi kabagijime baye ezeke kule bleeds, sizabanika ama-centers lapho kuregisterwa khona, ngoba asekhona khona phana eNkulumane ama-centers akhona. Sizabanika bagijime bayevota. Sizabuya ezindlini door to door, sifika ku-community sibatshele ukuthi baye ngaphi kuyavota, lokhu bancedisa ukuthi sihambe labo abahambe bayaregister. Okwakhathesi besingabi lohlupho lamapolisa, kodwa siyezwa ukuthi kwezinye izindawo njengaseKwekwe kulabantu abathethwe ngabantu be-ZANU-PF bayavalelwa somewhere kuthiwa bayatshaywa. Sikhangela ukuthi amapolisa azancedisa ezintweni ezinjalo. eNkulumane-ke besingakakubona, kodwa kungaba khona ukuthi siyahlukunyezwa ngamapolisa kumbe kulabantu abahlukumeza abanye beviolate i-code of conduct yama-elections siyabe sizabuya sihlabe umkhosi sitshele uZulu asincediselayo ukuthi bafake ilizwe kuhulumeni ukuthi yekelani ukuhlukuluza abantu. Ukuxoshwa kwethu eParliament saxotshelwa ukukhuluma izinto ezithinta abantu. Sasikhuluma kakhulu ku-budget sitshela uhulumeni ukuthi imali ayisebenzise njani. Sisala uku-approve amanye ama-budget nxa ayengalunganga. Si-opposa ukutshintshwa kwe-constitution ukwenzela ukuthi umnankagwa azinike amandla. Zonke zileziyana izinto la kuma-committee accounts committee kakhulu sasibanga umsindo sivusa izindaba kwase kuthiwa abantu laba singabaxosha njani. Lapho lokhuyana ukwala ukusukumela umuntu okuquluza inotho yelizwe kwathiwa hayi sizaba ne-strategy sokuba likhona. Sicela uZulu ukuthi asibisele eParliament. Lingakhangela ukuthi ama-MPs ayesebenza kudala khonapho ngesikhathi saboGugrawundi adumileyo njengabo-Sidney Malunga babedume ngokuthi bayekhuluma eParliament izinto kumele zenziwe njalo bayekhangela ba-expose i-corruption ekhona ba-expose into embi eyabe isenzakala ngaleso sikhathi. Thina-ke okukhona khathesi kule corruption eningi kulezimali kumele zifike ebantwini ezingafikiyo kulama-projects okumele afike ebantwini angafikiyo njalo kule economy lemisebenzi okumele icreate engacreatwayo asibone abantu bethola imisebenzi. So owami umsebenzi uyaqhubeka ngililwela eParliament njengalokho engakwenzayo ngesikhathi ngiseParliament. Ngangingomunye wama-MPs akhuluma kakhulu ngezinto ezithinta ilizwe ukuze abantu ama-problems abo aphele kumbe abe nganeno. Kuzafunakala-ke ukuthi mina ngingaya eParliament ngenze umsebenzi-ke okugijimisa uhulumende ngisenza i-oversight sibona ukuthi umsebenzi wabantu uyenziwe. Ngathi ngixoxa labanye abantu besithi Phulu kasikuboni Phulu kutholakala ngaphi Phulu ama-projects owenzayo yiwaphi. Ngathi ngibachasisele ukuthi hayi MP wenza lokhu nalokhu nalokhu siyasibe lemhlangano enje base besithi kodwa thina njengama-citizens phela sifuna ukwazi izinto lezi kumele zifike kithi kasoze thina sikudinge ukuthi sibone ama-project ukuthi enziwayo yiwaphi. Njalo okunye sebe sikubuza ungasike ukuthi kumbe siyasola kumbe kwenze njani kodwa okunye nxa usichasisela lathi siyazwisisa ukuthi lokhana somsebenzi wakho lokhana somsebenzi wakho wakuqalisa lapho ugcina lapho. Yikho lapho kumele silungise khona kakhulu sibone ukuthi i-message leyo iyafika ebantwini bathole ukuchasiselwa ngendlela epheleleyo. Esikhathini esiningi sithembiso izinto esingasoze sizifeze ukuthi siyabe siqambe amanga sakhuluma imisebenzi engaphandle kamandla ka-MP ukwenza umgwaqo ukuletha amanzi ukwakhela abantu zonke izinto lezo zenziwa i-central government yiyo elamandla oku-implement yiyo iphiwa izimali izigidi lezigidi zokuthi ba-implement imisebenzi enjalo. Eminye imisebenzi ka-council ngoba kule separation kule division of labor lapha phela sithe abantu amandla ebantwini. So nxa sithi abantu amandla ebantwini devolution kule misebenzi-ke eyenziwa i-council layo iqhatshe abantu abenza leyo msebenzi kodwa u-council ilawo amandla ukuthi ahambe ayekhangela ukuthi abone ukuthi imisebenzi leyo iyenziwe. Owami umsebenzi kuyalilwela eParliament ngiyebona ukuthi imithetho ebhalwayo iqondile elimazi abantu ngoba esikhathini esiningi okulimaza abantu imithetho engaqondanga. Ngesikhathi segurawundi abantu babulawa ngenxa yokuthi kulomthetho othi kule curfew kulomthetho onika isotsha amandla ukuthi lidule abantu kungabi le accountability. So ngokunye kumele siye kukhangela indaba yemisebenzi ihlupha abantu kakhulu enkulumani laselizweni lonke jikelele. Uhulumende kumele acreate imisebenzi eminingi abantu basebenze njengakudala bavuke bagada amabhasi baye emsebenzini. Isizathu sokuhlala edolobheni kubana kumele usebenze uthole indlela lawo yokuthi unakekele imuli yakho khona khona yikho kuswelakala kakhulu. Umsindo oningi lokuhlupheka okuningi lokudubeka okuningi usukusela khona lapho ngoba kumele wenelise ukuthi uthenge ukudla kumele wenelise ukuthi ugade amabhasi kumele wenelise ukuthi uhambise abantwana ezikolo ubhadala amanzi ka-council uthenga amagetsi uzakwenza njani khona ukungela msebenzi. Okunye ukuzalwa yikho lokuthi akula msebenzi indaba yokuthi usizathola ukuthi kule kudla lokho kuholiswayo okufunwa ngabantu ngoba belambile bengenamsebenzi lakho akubuyi ngendlela akuzwakali ukuthi kubuya njani kulesi ngunde ukuthi uthole ukuthi kuyaphiwa abanye abantu abanye bayeqiwa ngamanye ama-problems esiwatholayo esigabeni kulezi ndaba ze-COVID. Of course, COVID was a huge problem. Abantu besola ukudla, besola amanzi, besola izimali zokuyathenga, begula kungenazibhedlela abangazithola. Kule ndaba yokuhlukuluzwa ngamapholisa, kule ndaba ye-crime. I-crime ngani sivamile kakhulu, abantu bayagwazana, bayabulalana, bayabulawa. Sifuna ukubona izinto zinezo ziyalungiswa. So yizo izindaba esizitholayo. Okunye abantu bemfulumani bafuna ukuthi bathole i-feedback nxa sisiya emaparlamente lapho sibe sizobanika ama-feedback bazwisise labo ukuthi kuhamba njani. Okugcina esingakusho ukuthi sicele uZulu ukuthi avotele i-Citizens Coalition for Change okuyiphathi okuyinhlanganiso yabantu okuyiphathi yabantu ephathi egxile embonweni wabantu yikho okutshiwoyo ukuthi Citizens Coalition for Change. Nansi Citizens Coalition for Change. Besicela abantu ukuthi nxa befika bayivotele Citizens Coalition for Change bavotele ucacaphulu eNkulumane ukuze ngiqhube umsebenzi we-Citizens Coalition for Change eParliament.
There you are. Is campaign season marvelous? He's saying a lot of things here. He says he was pushed out of parliament because he was one of those people that used to question the way government was spending money, the way things were going, in the country generally. So I still remember there was a very hot debate in parliament when he was talking about some of these proposed amendments and all those kind of things. So he was one of the most vocal parliamentarians, together with Tendai Biti. So at the end of the day, he says he was recalled because of the way he was saying a lot of things in parliament. So he says if he goes back to parliament, he will fight by all means to represent all Zimbabweans, especially the Kulumane constituency.
Aiwa apo tiri kunzwa zvakare vapulu vachitsinira zvavachaitira dunhu renkulumane kana vachinge vawana mukana wekuti vawanikwe vachivhoterwa vakamirira bato ravachamisa reCCC.
Yes, and I know that Dr. Simba Mavaza is around. And then after Mavaza, we'll use a certain other video that we took from Kwekwe that you sent us, marvelous. So let's get a kind of analysis of what Pulu was saying. Mr. Mavaza, Dr. Mavaza, welcome to the program.
Welcome, sir. Can you just give a summary of what he said? Because
so what you are saying is that he was put out of parliament because he was one of the most vocal parliamentarians, one, and secondly, he used to challenge some of the laws that were being enacted in parliament, and thirdly, he's a man who was always who has always had his roots in Kulumane, and he was doing everything that people wanted him to do, and he was always giving feedback to the community on what is supposed to be done. So he was in the People's Democratic Party, but recalled because the MDC-T actually challenged his affiliation. So they thought that he was affiliated to the MDC alliance, which was then led by Nelson Chamisa. So at the moment, he is in CCC, the Citizens Coalition for Change. So in brief, you are saying he's a person to vote for, He's there to talk on behalf of the people. He's there to actually enact laws, right?
Yes. To start with, he had started this campaign by lying, which is not correct. He has not been recalled because of his activities in parliament. He was recalled because of their own infighting in their party. He was not recalled by Monzora or by Kupe. He was recalled by his own party general secretary. It has nothing to do with either MDC-T or ZANU-PF. And again, there are very, very vibrant speakers in parliament who are known, and they're still there. They have not been recalled or arrested. Actually, there is a parliamentary privilege in Zimbabwe. Whatever you say in parliament, you cannot be arrested for it or penalized for it. So therefore, the position he is putting himself in is just a campaign gimmick, which is not right for a politician to do. He he must campaign and must tell the people what he did when he was the MP before he was recalled. What has he shown to the people? And people would vote him on that basis, not on lies that he has been speaking too much.
So let's say the contents of his argument is that at the end of the day, he was challenging some laws that were being enacted, and he's a legal practitioner by profession. So he was saying he was challenging some of the laws, and all that showed that he was representing Nkulumane constituency in a proper way. So is that not the role of a lawmaker?
No. We're not talking about the role of the lawmaker here. We are talking about what he did. What you have said is what a lawmaker is supposed to do. Did he do that? No, he didn't.
And he says he did it.
He didn't. Why? Because they are. If you look into the parliamentary reports, you have hardly heard about Katkapulu saying anything except the day he was fired. Maybe he spoke once or twice on his maiden speech. You ask any man on the street, they don't know who he is. You would know him because you're a journalist, but people in Zimbabwe, in other constituencies, who have got the ear on parliamentary activities, they don't know him. They know of any other opposition. BT, yes, I can talk about BT. BT has been very vocal. Yes, and not Pulu. Pulu has not been vocal. So we cannot come up and raise such an issue when we know that is entirely politicking and it's not the right thing we should do. So Pulu here is not telling the truth. He's literally lying, and I would say...
And for the record, Mr. Dr. Mavaza, if you check the Hansard, his name is all over the Hansard concerning laws.
No. Go into any sections where we're discussing about the laws and what did he contribute. The most vocal person you can find all over the Hansard is not Pulu. All over the Hansard you can find BT, you can find Job Scala. I'm talking about the opposition members.
Oh, yes. I think you touched a certain button and you muted yourself. Go ahead. Can you hear me now? No, can you?
We can't say.
Yeah, can you rejoin? So let's go to Mr. Let's see. Yeah, there we are. Marvelous, go ahead.
Aiwa, tinotenda Dr. Mavaza vanga varipo vauya at short notice. Thank you so much. Uye zvekutenda vakawanda jokura vauyawo zvakare tavadeedza last minute asi mauya pachirongwa. Tipeiwo pfungwa dzenyu pane zviri kuitika panyaya yemaby elections. Zvii zvamuri kuti imi vakamirira CCC vachange vari kuunza kune avo vachavavhotera?
Yes, starting with the aspect of the Katkapulu issue. Go ahead, sir. Can you hear us? Yeah, I think you are a little bit. Yes, go ahead, sir. Yes, okay. We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Regaindi kwasise muri Zimbabwe yakateerera nevese yellow kwese yango yellow pama banana ipapo pama orange ipapo. Thank you so much. Let me answer react to what Tete Marvelous asked. Kuti vanenge vachiita chii matungamiriri vedu vari kudzokera ku parliament kuti vanomiririra vanhu ndo vakanga vambovaisa imomo vakabviswa zvisiri pamutemo naMonzora. Saka iko zvino vanhu zvakare vachadzorera vatungamiriri vedu kudare reparamende vachinoita basa ravo rekumiririra vanhu. Chinonakidza chinoita kuti zvinhu zvive nyore, chichavaita kuti zvive nyore kuti vadzorerwe ndechekuti vese ana honorable Wende, ana honorable Yepimo Chidziva, ana honorable Chibaya, vese havana kumbobvira vamira kushanda muvanhu, havana kumbobvira vabuda muvanhu. Musi uno I think makaona honorable Yepimo Chidziva vachivhura zvibhorani kuHighfield West, ndo yanhamo yedu yekuti taakuita zvibhorani mutaundi. Hurumende haisi kuvaka madhamu, asi tiringotaura kuti vanhu vakaramba vachishanda, vatungamiriri vevanhu vakaramba vachishandira vanhu. Saka nanhasi muri kuona vari kuunganirwa nevanhu, vanhu vari kufara zvakanyanyisa. Mune mufaro wakawedzera muZimbabwe kuti maby elections akauya akuitwa uye vatungamiriri vevanhu vakudzokera. Tinozviziva tese isu kuti vatungamiriri vevanhu vanosarudzwa nevanhu, avapiwe, avanongedzerwe kuti iwe chienda kwakati, iwe chienda kwakati. Ndo zvatakuona zvakuitika iko zvino, asi tiri kungonzwa kurwadziwa nezviri kuitwa neZANU-PF. Iri kuti panenge pakaungana vanhu iri kuenda ichinorova vanhu, ichinovhiringidza vanhu. Makaona kumukobha kuGweru, Honorable Chibaya, President Chamisa nevamwe vatungamiriri veCCC vakavhiringidzwa zvisina mukara akamboona nemapurisa, vachirohwa vachiita sei, vachirambidzwa kutaura nevanhu. Asi zuro riya Ngonzora neZANU-PF vanga varimo muGweru imomo vachiita zvimwe chete izvozvo, asi vachibvumidzwa kuita. Saka unongoona kuti mutemo wacho hausi kuitwa zvakaenzerana. ZANU-PF naMonzora vanobvumirwa kuunganidza vanhu, vanobvumira kutaura nevanhu, asi CCC vanhu vari kubva varohwa. Takazviona zvakare zvichiitika kuHighfield nekwakawanda-wanda. Saka isu tinongoramba tichiti vanhu zivai, onai zviri kuitika. Chakunakisa ndechekuti vana veZimbabwe vari kuzviona kuti ari kukonzeresa mhirizhonga muZimbabwe ndiani, ari kukonzeresa kutambura kwavo ndiani, uye kuti anokwanisa kuuya kuzochinja zvinhu neupenyu hwavo ndiani. Saka vachangoenda payellow ipapo vonovhota musi wa26 March, voenda pamaorange ipapo, pamabanana ipapo endai tinovhota tichinje zvinhu zviri kuitika muZimbabwe.
Yeah, thank you so much. You can put that in English. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
All I was saying was our members of parliament are ready everywhere where they are, and we know that they are going to get back in parliament. And one good thing about all our members of parliament was, even when they were illegally recalled, they never left the people. They continued to go to the people. They continued to give information to the people. They continue to do their projects with the people. We also, what happened in Highfield West, Honorable Epimo Chidziva was very busy everywhere, making sure that he was in contact with the people, providing water through the provision of boreholes, which is very unfortunate because we shouldn't be having boreholes in the cities. But the government, the local government, which takes all money from councils and is supposed to be building dams, is not doing that. When was the last dam built in Harare or Chitungwiza? So, but the fact of the matter is, all our members of parliament, Honorable Wende, Honorable Chibaya, and many others that were recalled, were working very hard in their constituencies. So the people have no confusion. They know their leaders. They know the leaders that they elected in 2018, and we have no doubt that they are going to re-elect them again and put them back in parliament, because that's the nature of politics. People, members of parliament are elected by people. They are not appointed by certain individuals. So the people are going to do the same thing on 26 March, and CCC will be represented, and the people of Zimbabwe will be represented by the people of their choice, people who care about them.
Thank you very much. Let's bring in Dr. Mavaza. Your reaction to that, Dr. Mavaza?
Thank you so much. I just missed a second to clarify on Pulu, but let me continue to what Sekuru Jokora was saying. Sekuru Jokora is always in a campaign mood. Of course, this is a campaign season, but the reality of the matter is that he is confused. Firstly, when the MDC-T had a meeting in Gweru, it was after the restrictions were uplifted. It was not during the time of COVID. It was not in breach of any restrictions, because the restrictions were uplifted then. So this is different. We cannot compare when people want to meet when there are restrictions and people meeting when there are no restrictions. So this blind looking at the laws, which is done by CCC, it's inciting. It is just trying to incite the people, to make people believe that they are victims when they are actually the culprits. And there are triple culprits, culprit, CCC, and that has to change. And furthermore, the mistake he's making is that Pulu was not a member of was not a member of CCC at the time when he was pulled. He was a member of PDP, and therefore it's not like that they are going to bring back a person they want. They brought back, they put PDP instead of MDC-A that time. So it speaks volumes, and I can tell you, in that constituency alone, we are going to see a splitting of votes. In Bulawayo again, we can notice that the CCC is fielding 2 candidates in one constituency. The other ones are fighting that side. They are not organized. They rushed up with their party without even organization. The country, to rule a country, it needs proper organization. So what I can simply say to our listeners today, you do not have to rush for the newcomers because they don't know what they are doing. Rush for those who are seasoned, those with experience, and those you have suffered together with. We have gone through problems together. We will go through our pleasures together. We can go through our prosperity together, and that is ZANU-PF. And that's the party we must look at in these by-elections. But again, as we can say, and I've said this once again, these by-elections, whatever the results are, they are not going to show the popularity of ZANU-PF or of CCC. These are the positions which MDC-A was occupying. They withdrew themselves. They recalled themselves, and they are the ones who are putting us in this situation again. What I can simply say to the people is, do not vote for those who can recall themselves after 2 days. Vote for the party which will stick, which will give you your representative until the next elections. Don't vote for those who are experimenting on their candidates. Who knows? They can pull them again off tomorrow. We need people with a continuity, people to continue in their constituencies, in their positions, to help their constituencies, to help the people of Zimbabwe. We need representatives to do their work, not simply to put them and remove them again. So
asika regai ndimbokubata ipapo Dr. Mavaza, vamwewo vangazoti zvii zvitsva zvingaunzwe neZANU-PF zvamungati vavhoterwe zvavasati vakwanisa kuunza panguva yavanga vari.
That's a good question. Zvatinazvo zvinezvi isusu mazve tinoda kupedzesa zvatakatanga kwasara gore nehafu kuti zvipere tisvike pamageneral elections next year. Zvizvi zvatiri kuita development muri kungoiona. We are developing towns, we are developing structures, we are having companies. Last week, you can agree with me, we had 3 companies which opened in Bulawayo, where the PEMSEC of industry and commerce, Mavis Banda, was there, and the 3 companies had opened. And we are not talking about the Chinese companies, we're talking about companies which are really known, which have the astute of work from long time. And we have got over 800 people who were employed in less than 2 weeks by those companies which had opened. And we've been told that we're going to have more companies opening up because for the past 3 years, we're laying out the process, the foundation of economic change, of economic development. We are now doing economic development. We are now at the process of, we don't need to experiment anymore. We are now continuing with it. We are now changing. We are now proceeding with the changes we've already put into practice. So ED is for economic development. And this is what we are now looking at. And we are saying for this 1 year which is left, vote ZANU-PF, you will see us through to the changes we've started.
Thank you very much, and stay on the line. We've got Mr. Krikori Ngube of the Republican Party of Zimbabwe. He's actually contesting in Kulumane. Here he comes.
Yeah, labahlangana ke njalo ke Republican Party of Zimbabwe ke ongiyela ozancintisa ukhetho lwama-by-elections ka-March 26. Nunzana ngubani?
Mina igama nguGregory Lovejoy Ncube, ngumfana okhulele ozalelwe eWange College Hospital, masephuma ngazohlala khona apha eBulawayo. So ngumuntu okhulele eNkulumane from primary school, secondary school up to date. Ngumntwana wakwaMpana ngikhaya. So yebo ndemsebenzi yokucula ngenza lokuthena but ngingene ku Republican Party of Zimbabwe, RPZ in abbreviation. Sikhangelele ukuthi silungise
ungene ibunjwe le party.
Ibunjwe 2018. Yes, sikhangelele ukuthi silungise inhlupho esizibonayo njengabantu esigabeni. Siyabe sihlangana lezinhlupho eziningi kodwa siba labantu abasezindaweni lezi bethi bayalungisa kodwa bayabuya
kuyinokuswele kakhulu okwenzakala enkulumane la
uyabona enkulumane sile uhluphi kakhulu singakhangela ebantwaneni besifazane i-youth girl child labantu abangomama bahlezi belenhlupho eziningi ezokuthi kudingakala ukuthi bancediswe ngoba abantu bangomama kumele banakekele kodwa lokho kule same problem from day one ngemncane ngikhula mphuma endlini ngishiya umama ngikwazi ukuthi lohlupho oluthile ngiphenduke futhi ngisholo kufanana lakathi esitoke kuyinto efana nayo so yikho esikudingayo ngoba ungananzela kulabanye abantwana abangakwanisi ukuthi bazithengele ama-toiletries. There are other children who are not even able to pay school fees. Kulabanye ogogo abahleziyo abangekho la ku-pension fund okuthi uyathola ukuthi uyabesehluleka lokuthi umzukulu wakhe amkhulise njani ngoba behluleka ukumthathisa even i-birth certificate. Kulama-problems amaningi esigabeni sokuthi uyathola bengela kudla abantwana bedubeka uzithola umntwana ehlezi uyenza abanye abantwana besifazane begcine besiyakhomba ngenxa yokuthi she has to find a way to survive. So we must improve i-life yomntwana oyinkazana.
Uzakwenza njani iphathi yakule ule-1 MP uzakulobha ngaphi lokho eParliament?
Well, nxa ithuba selikhona ukuthi ngene eParliament ngihamba ngiyekhuluma kuhle labo sibonisane bangizwe ukuthi ngithini ngoba ukukhala kwabo sisi bami labana abami uhlupho lwabo ngobami.
Ane bakhala bathi if nxa imember ye-opposition ngazongena eParliament akulanto ozayitshintsha lapha wona ubonani uzatshintshani?
Hayi uyabona sengangananzelela khona ukuthi kulabanye abantu abangenayo bahlale bephiwe futhi development fund kodwa bengenzi lutho izibuyele development fund lana into eqhakathekile ukuthi you work with the community regardless of which political party they come from. Lihlale phansi lonke livumelane lenze ama-project proposals, then when that money comes you sit down and vote on what to do concerning that money. Le project ilabe libone i-productive to the community, then you do it. Akulanto ehlula abantu.
Kuground lapha enkulumane bathina abantu nxa bekhuluma lawo?
Well, abantu ngobhuti bami ngosisi bami, I've talked to many of them and they know and appreciate their way ukuthi ama intentions ami ngawani, and I'm not a corrupt politician ukuthi mhlawumbe nje nambizi whatever ngigijima ngithembisa abantu ezingekho because my main aim is angifuni ukuthembisa umuntu lutho. I can promise my girlfriend but I don't want to promise people things. I want ukuthi singeneni ku ground sonke nini siyenze nini into kumele siyenze. Silungiseni isigaba sethu than to be making promises to them for no reason.
So ufuna ukuthi usenzele abantu ukutshintsha?
Ngifuna ukusebenzela abantu sitshintshe isigaba sethu ngoba ngikhaya. Kulumane is my home. We don't need somebody to come from Kulumane is my home. We don't need somebody to come from
That is Mr. Gregory Ngube of the Republican Party of Zimbabwe. So Mr. Ngube is saying that he's not making many promises. What is going to do is to engage the community all the time. So he says that's his work, engaging the community and doing all what he can. So he actually highlighted some of the issues that are faced by people in Kulumane, and he says they include, challenges concerning sanitary wear among girls and women. And he says at the end of the day, there's a lot of poverty that needs to be tackled in Kulumane. And if elected, he's going to talk to the people on ways of getting rid of some of these challenges. So he says there is this issue of the constituency development fund, which is not used wisely in most cases. So he's going to get the people's views to actually, rectify all these things that have been done in the wrong way. So he says that's him, and he's a musician, by the way.
Oh, very interesting day indeed. Apo tirikunzwa kune vachange vakamirira Nkulumane zvakare vari kutaura ivo kuti vari veRepublican Party hanzi ini ndikavhoterwa ndichaunzwawo pundutso imomo nzvimbo yeNkulumane nokuti vari kuti ndakakurira imomo saka ndinoziva zvinodiwa nevanhu nezvimwe zvakadaro.
And we also have an interview with another person in Kwekwe. Let's hear this interview. Marvelous.
Nemufaro pano pachirongwa chedu muzvare Judith Tsobaiwa. Zviri pamwoyo penyu ndezvipi semumwe achange akamirira sangano reCCC muKwekwe Central?
Zviri pamwoyo pangu ndezvekuti tinochinjisandura mutemo nezviri kuitika mararamiro atiri kuita muno muKwekwe Central.
Zviri kunyanya zvimhinga mupinyi zvamuri kuona zviri kusangana nevanhu imomo ndezvipi?
Zvimwe zvacho ndeizvizvozvi zviri kutoitika zvamunoona sisi tichitaura kudai magetsi aende. Handizivi kuti chikonzero chaita kuti magetsi aende chii. Ndo zvimwe zvezvimwe zvinhu zvatinenge chida kunotarisa. Mukatarisa muKwekwe izvezvi hatina mvura, tinotorarama nemvura yekunaya. magetsi aenda. Saka izvezvi hatizivi kuti torarama nei. Saka chimwe chechinhu chatinoda kunochinja kuparliament, kana ndazopinda ini muzvare Judith Tobayo, ndinoda kunonzwisisa kumakurukota edu kuti chinomboita kuti magetsi aende chii, nokuti isusu taimbofunga kuti kana tikange takuita zvekujusa magetsi haachaendi. Zvino iko zvinezvi tiri kungojusa magetsi ari kuenda. Mvura chaiyo taifunga tikaisirwa mamita ekuti tijuse mvura haiende, but mvura iko zvino mukwekwe tatisina kana dambudziko rekuti mvura inoenda. But iko zvinezvi mvura yakutoenderana nemagetsi. Takutoverenga kuti kana magetsi akaenda nhasi tobatawo kuti magetsi adi aenda, saka takuverenga kuti mvura yakuenda in the next 2 days. Vana havasichaendi kana kuchikoro. Hatichazivi kuti ndo korona here, korona yakarova kunyange nematicha here, korona yakarova kunyange nekunodzidzira vana vedu. Zvakutishungurudza isusu muno muguta rekwekwe, nekuda kwekuti muno muguta rekwekwe kunoitwa zvemining. Vana vazhinji vasingachaendi kuchikoro, vakumhanyidzana kuenda kumakomba kunochera. Zvinova izvo rava dambudziko rakutiwandira kuti magetsi hatina, mvura hatina, vana havachaendi kuchikoro, zvese zvakutiwandira. Torarama sei munzvimbo yekwekwe?
Tombotarisa pamataura panyaya yekorona yakamira sei imomo mukwekwe?
Muno mukwekwe mastatistics ekorona tinango yende, but chinondishamisa ndechekuti marali anoitwa zvikoro zvakavharwa. Zvinoreva here kuti vanoenda kumarali havarohwi nekorona, asi vana vechikoro vari kunzi vaende kuchikoro. Muno mukwekwe kana tine vana vakambobatwa nekorona kuzvikoro, i1 or 2% yevana vakabatwa nekorona kuzvikoro, asi kumarali hapana anobatwa nekorona. Inongobata kuvana chete vari vachienda kuchikoro. Zvinova izvo zviri kutibata sevagari vemukwekwe, sevagari vevana vemuZimbabwe again. Noti kwekwe chete zviri kubata nyika yese, asi mukwekwe chinonyanyotirwadza ndechekuti mune nhau yezvekukorokoza. Vana vese vakutizira kuenda kunokorokoza. Uyezve mune nhau yemutoriro iri kusvutwa nevana nekuda kwefodya, mbanje, zvese zvakuitika muno. Vana they are now uncontrollable. Hachakwanisi kukontrola vana nekuda kwezvese izvozvi. Saka chikumbiro changu ndechekunoti kana hurumende ingatiwanirawo zvimwe zviri nani zvekuti vana vedu vadzokere kuzvikoro, vatipe protection yekuti vana vakwanise kudzokera kuchikoro. Kana vachikwanisa kupa protection nevanhu vanoenda kumarali, ngavachipawo protection kune vana vedu vaende kuzvikoro.
Aiwa, tinotenda.
Thank you so much.
Asi tisati taenda chitaurai zvakare muyeuchidze kuti vanhu vanovhotera papi semunhu ari kutsvaga urutsigiro kwamuri ikoko.
Muno mukwekwe tine macenters atinawo. 1, izvezvi kune chirongwa chekurejista kuvhota chiri kutenderera nharaunda yese yekwekwe. Muzuva ranhasi nezuva rakapfuura ranezuro vanga vari mumasasa, vari pamusha weZayoja Church, ndopanga pachirejistirwa kuvhota. Koitazve mangwana acho vanenge vari kuward 6, vachatenderera mawards ose vachirejista kuvhota. Uyezve kanazve takuenda kunovhota tichange tine masenders edu kwatinovhotera. Mukwekwe tine masenders 36 ekuvhotera. So masenders iwayo ndo atange tienda tichinovhota. Isusu bato rangu randinobva rinonzi CCC, Citizen Coalition for Change, kuti zvinhu zvose zvishanduke, magetsi ari kuenda, mvura iri kushanduka, zvese izvi tikwanise kuzvichinja. Hande yetinovhotera muzvare Judith Tobayo paCCC inotungamirwa naAdvocate Nelson Chamisa, Citizen Coalition for Change. Coalition for Change.
There you are, my brother. So, seeing the power going off, something classic, right?
We were having the interview, so she was able to see how people in Zimbabwe are living, especially in the area of Kwekwe Central, where she's, vying to get the vote, because she says she's actually competing against 2 men in that area, one from ZANU-PF and one from the MDC alliance. So she was literally just saying, as a young woman, this is the kind of a situation that they face day in, day out. Power goes off, and children can't do homework when they're at school, and some of the issues that she literally was able to walk us through.
Yes, go ahead with Chief Sophie.
Vajokora mamuri kunzwa zvanga zviri kutaura muzvare Judith Tobayo vachange vakamirira bato renyu. pane here zvamukatsinhire pane zviri kusanganiwa nevanhu munyika pari zvino zvingaite kuti vazodawo kuvhotera kuti bato renyu riwane mamwe makanzura kana ma-MP?
Handina ndanga ndisinganzwe video yacho, asi tiri kuziva, tiri kuona nhamo iri kuonekwa naHonorable Judith. Ndatombotaura navo makuseni ano vachitaura nezvemota yavo yakatorwa nekushungurudzwa kwavari kuitwa nevanhu vezanu. Uyu mwana mudiki ari kuedza kuti amiririre vechidiki uye vanhu vese vemukwekwe central, ende tinozviziva, vanozviziva chero vemukwekwe vacho kuti mwana anoshanda, mwana anotumika. Saka handisi kuona achitadza kupinda ipapo. Asi ndaida kuti ndingotaurawo zvangu kuti vana veZimbabwe vari kuona zviri kuitika. The people of Zimbabwe, they are seeing all the victimization of CCC members of parliament. They are seeing what ZANU-PF has been doing, and they know what has happened in the past 40 years. So I'm really shocked to see ZANU-PF and people like Dr. Mavaza still encouraging people to vote for ZANU-PF. Of course, they have to do that, but we know that for 40 years, it has been like slavery in Zimbabwe. For 40 years, it has been all looting, nothing else. So if they come here and say, vote for us again for the next 5 years, what it essentially means for the Zimbabwean people is ZANU-PF is saying, vote us for the next 5 years so that, there will be more, 85% unemployment. Vote us for the next 5 years so that there will be more poverty in Zimbabwe. Vote us for the next 5 years so that there will be more abductions and more poor roads, poor infrastructure. That's what it essentially means, because we have not seen anything that ZANU-PF has done. It is just poverty and poverty. We need to change even the meaning of the word poverty, because it's there on the records. You just Google it. Zimbabwe has officially become one of the poorest countries in the world. And yet we have so many resources that the government is misusing, not misusing. We know where the resources are going. We have seen people with bars and bars of gold. That money that could have been used in hospitals to make sure that we have good hospitals, to make sure that we have medicine in our hospitals, to make sure that teachers are paid, to make sure that we have schools, good schools, proper schools in Zimbabwe. But that's not happening because all the money is being misused by a few people. So Zimbabweans, let's be informed voters. Let's look at what is happening in the country. Let's look at our suffering. Let's look at what is happening in other countries that are closer to us. We are the poorest. We have the poorest infrastructure in the region. So why should you continue to vote for someone like that? Why should you continue to vote for someone who has been in power for 40 years and has failed to improve your life? Let's not talk about other things, but your life. Are you working right now? If you are a youth, you are not working. Have you ever worked? Have you ever gotten a pay slip? Even one day, you have never been employed, so you don't have a pay slip. So why would you vote for someone like that? Let's look at what can be done, what can
Thank
be
you.
possible. It's no longer possible for ZANU-PF to turn around Zimbabwe. It will just be poverty. We are voting for 5 years, more of poverty, more of this suffering.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mavaza, your quick reaction to that, sir.
Thank you. Kutanga ndinoda kungoti just a word of advice kuti maisvosve vagosonyera vasvosve juzi rakanaka riri kuratidza urombe hwepati yavo. That color is misused. But anyway, position yadatara ndekuti svosve rokangana problem imwe chete. ZANU-PF has been in power for so long, I agree. But the new dispensation has been in power for 3 years. This is our 3rd year. We thought like we've been 40 years with the new dispensation. And since it came into power, pane zvakawanda zvayakaita mashanduko yakawandisa iri kuitika. Iko zvinezvi as we speak, the Ministry of Education ari kupinda into meetings nema-teacher. They want to raise their salaries to the level yakanga iri kudhara because yarohwa ne-inflation. We understand that as a party and we do understand that as a government. So in other words, It's not like it's a government you could 40 years. This is a 3-year-old government. It's in its infancy and is doing the best it can. And we can assure you, our MPs are who come in and they are with us stand for elections, these by-elections. Vote for them. They will assist you in your constituencies, and they will help with TT come through to the end of this term. In 5 years, when we take stock of the 5 years, what have we done? You think we have done a lot of things. Things will come into picture and it will be understood. So it is not true what Muzari, the lady who is campaigning in Kwekwe for CCC, motor yake enge sina number plates. And as you can see, there are over 3,500 cars which were impounded by the police. At this MDC, at this CCC, this is the one who are good driver motor number plates, because there's been a lot of robbery, a lot of crimes caused by that. Saka iya driver motor yake isina number plates. Over claim because I'm campaigning. We don't work like that. Even the one with ZANU-PF, Zakatorwa, Zemapurisa, Zevakomana security, different departments, Vakatorwa, Motkar. So if you look at that, I think politics, we cannot put law and order ahead of politics. We have to keep our country clean. We have to keep our country manageable. Zvanga zvakunetsa kumanager because vanhu vari kuba matambo emagetsi wesa motikari dzisina manamba plates driver. So this is why Eka was taken. But furthermore, kuna violence. I'm sure I was hoping kuti vadzokora vachataura kuti ndinoda kutenda kuti there's no violence. Hakuna ari kurohwa, hakuna karambwa campaign door to door whichever way, hakuna ari kutyisidzirwa, and hakuna vakaudzwa veCCC kana muchida endai kuno approachawo ZBC, radio stations, ZBC, ZTV, approach for your campaigns. You pay because they're in business. And campaign now, Saka, there is nobody what we see is at the end of these elections, yes, we agree. Could depend on my areas, winner, because agara are my seats out. But depending on the good people have seen these people are not serious, they cannot be trusted. So
and the lady,
we urge people to vote for ZANU-PF.
The lady in Kwekwe had some kind of power failure during the interview. So can you address that in 30 seconds?
We are not aware of what is happening in Kwekwe at the moment, but yes, we're having power cut problems. And the minister, Vasoda Jemu, actually said on Friday, this situation is getting better, but wherever there are rains, we always have my power problems. Even here in England, Pakangona and Vraka one saturated my power cuts for some time, but in Zimbabwe and with our economy at the moment, yes, it's
silent. Dr. Mavaza, just hold on, Mr. Go ahead, Soswe. 1 second, sum up.
It's 5 more years of power outages, 5 more years of water shortages, 5 more years of this kind of suffering, this level of poverty. If you make a mistake of voting ZANU-PF again, we need change, we need the new leaders, and the new leaders are there, and I know the people of Zimbabwe.
So I think we've got some kind of challenges a little bit with their network. Dr. Mavaza, your last word, say.
Thank you. Power outage in America. That is nothing. So I can assure you, vote for ZANU-PF. Vote the one you trust. Don't experiment with your life. Your life is important. Vote for ZANU and things will change.
So now, but there's some people who are saying you've overstayed your welcome, as a ruling party. How do you react to that? Just
we are 3 years old. We haven't even finished our first term. So we have explained clearly that this is called ZANU-PF new dispensation, and therefore we have not overstayed. Those who overstayed ended in 2017. This is a different party.
But some people have been in government for more than 40 years, and they're ruling right now, right?
Yes, it's like we cannot use that as an argument, because we have got people who have been in MDC since it was created, and they are still in CCC. We can't call them, they are not CCC because they've been there for.
Thank you very much. For that, we end our show today. We wish to thank our guests this evening, Dr. Simba Mavaza, of ZANU-PF, and Mr. Tewanda Sukura of the Citizens Coalition for Change, Mr. Gregory Ncube of the Republican Party of Zimbabwe, and Mr. Pulu of the Citizens Coalition for Change. Signing off from Maryland, this is Gibbs Dube saying good night, Zimbabwe.
And I'm marvelous in Tlanganya, who Gibbs, I would have wanted both Mr. Jokora and
time is up.
Also Dr. Mavaza to comment on the soccer. Maybe they would have agreed with
time is up.
win by Senegal.
Time is up.
But congratulations to Senegal for taking the Africa Cup of Nations, and also thank you to Judith Tobaiwa of CCC in Kwekwe Central. I'm marvelous in Tlanganya, in Washington.